Hello, 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 hello. Happy Sunday. Um, did I miss you? Yeah, we missed each other last week. But we're here. I can't remember why we missed last week, but it don't matter. We're here today. Happy October, November. November 10th. Um, I'm not sure if we missed last week or not. So much has happened in the beginning of November already that I don't. Oh, now I remember. Now I remember we did not meet each other last week. Last Friday, we were as a family. I don't want to say grieving because it wasn't grieving, but we were remembering in our own way. My dear Isaiah transitioned November 1st, 2013. And so I'm never quite sure how that day is going to unfold. For whatever reason, I decided to work. Won't make that mistake again. And so that's why we did not meet up last Sunday because I still needed some time. I still needed some time, but what a week it has been. Let me start off by saying there will be no meditation today. I thought about this for a while and I thought, what does everybody need? Everybody probably needs some grounding. Everybody probably needs some. No, I am not going to assume that I know what everyone needs, but I am very clear about what I need. And what I need are boundaries, very clear and specific boundaries. So there will not be a meditation in this space today, but there may be meditation. And there was meditation on Wednesday in the evolved community. There may be additional meditations, but they will not be taking place in this space for the remainder of the year. Let me push back for a little bit so I can put my elbows down. Um, I have thought very long about what has unfolded in the world in the past 2 weeks for me personally and for us collectively. And I have made the decision that is best for me, that my works will unfold in the places and spaces that I decide is best for me. And so we will still have Mama Meditations every Sunday from here until the end of the year. And then they will conclude and they will only be available within the evolved community. Um, I have to make that decision for myself. It may be for personal, selfish reasons, or maybe more self-full reasons, but it's necessary. I've been thinking a lot about the energy that I'm holding in terms of what I think I have to do in order to be successful and in order to be marketable. Because let's make no mistake about it, although, not although, I am a certified international spiritual life coach, and I had to change the title. It's like, let them know exactly what it is. And also other things. But I also am a content creator. We can't act as if those of us who live in this space of social media are not all content creators. When we place something out on social media and push it into the universe, we are creating content that we hope other people will either support, enjoy, resonate with, connect with. We are all content creators, whether you're on social media or not. What you say, what you do, you are creating some form of content for someone to consume. And so over the past 2 weeks, I've had to think very deeply about the places and the spaces that I have been in that have not always supported me in the ways that I like. Um, I've thought about that. I think many of us have had to think about that, about what am I doing? And we posed the question at the beginning of the year, where is your energy going? What are the places and spaces that your energy is going into, and how is it supporting you? And so, as I am getting fine tuned, frog hair fine, clear about the places and the spaces that I desire my energy to be in. I recognize it has to be on my terms and in the way that I like. And I know there is probably some social media manager who hears that and be like, you can't do that. I have to do what feels good for me and in my spirit. And that is the choice that I'm going to make. I have a commitment to show up in this space every Sunday through the end of the year. And I'm going to fulfill that commitment because I also don't want to be the type of person who allows emotion to impact the contracts that I have set up. Whether you know it or not, I have a contract, I have a spiritual agreement with myself to do this work in this way, and I will fulfill that until the end of that contract, whether it's written down in stone and blood or not. And I'm grateful. And it's not that I'm not grateful. And it could, for anyone who wants to hear it that way, sound like, oh, well, you're upset and you're mad and now you want to withhold. No, it's more like I'm tired and I'm conserving my resources. I'm conserving my resources. And so showing up in places and spaces that make sense to me is the way in which I'm choosing to do that. And I hope for each and every single one of you, you are choosing to do what feels good for you, as long as you are not hurting anyone else or hurting or harming yourself. Whatever emotion is coming up for you is real, which is why on Wednesday in the Evolved community, I made it very clear that I don't want to assume that anyone is feeling any particular way because I don't know. I know for myself personally, there is a particular privilege that I hold because of the work that I have done mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Anger is not an emotion that I feel or have felt in the past couple of days. I have had to end conversations where other people wanted to gather and talk about how angry they were because I have nothing to offer in that conversation. And so, if anyone is looking to have that kind of I'm upset, I'm enraged, I'm angry conversation, I, I'm not your girl because I'm not feeling that emotion. I'm not suppressing that emotion. I'm not denying that emotion. Um, it's real, but it's not what I feel. I actually feel, um, and what has been coming up for me visually is, when the Grinch starts to smile, that coy smile, and it starts to curl on the ends. I'm feeling more of that. And that to me is not necessarily anger. It's more of wait till you see what I have in store for you. It's more of okay, I got it. I'm clear. Um, One of my spiritual mother's mentors defined something for me and for a lot of us in 2016 when we were in this similar place. And then 4 years later, we were like, whoo, we took a sigh of relief and we're like, okay, we're out of that. And what Mama Ia said is America is an abused partner. We have been in an abusive relationship for the past 4 years, and it's going to take some healing to come out of it. And so this feels similar to experiences where someone may have left their abuser, but then for whatever reason returned. And I just had this conversation with someone the other day that wasn't related to this past election, but literally was related to witnessing someone return to an abusive situation. And I said, sometimes when you feel like you don't have any resources, when you feel like nothing else is working out for you, you might return to the place that is the place of toxicity for you because at least you feel like I'll be able to eat, I'll be able to have a roof over my head, maybe maybe it won't be so bad this time. And so that may have been a resonating feeling with a lot of people. I don't know. I'm not those people. I have never returned to an abusive relationship. You show me one time that you don't have my best interest at heart, I'm out. So I can't speak to why we are back in this position that we found ourselves in 2016 all the way through 2020. I have no idea. Nor am I going to waste time trying to, figure it out. There are people who get paid to do that, who feel like it is their ministry to spend time trying to figure out what went wrong or what went right or what we need to do. I'm not one of those people. I am still very clear about what my mission and vision and purpose and intention in life is. It has not wavered. It has not changed. Now, the way in which I express it might be different, but that hasn't changed for me. And so I recognize that is a privilege of soul work. That is a privilege of healing work. That is a privilege of being in a particular state of consciousness that allows me to see what I need to see and not react solely based upon my emotions, but with logic. All of this makes sense to me. I am not shocked by a thing. I'm really not. Um, and there are particular things that, when we were talking about having our own um, uh, commandments, creating commandments for ourselves. My first commandment is, thou shalt create peace. My second commandment is, thou shalt not create distractions. And I'm adding to that, I'm adding a third commandment, thou shalt not disrespect or bash or tear apart another Black woman. There are people whose mission in life is to do that. That's not my mission. I'm going to leave it up to them. If they feel like that is something that they need to do, that they want to do, that they love to do it somewhere else. I'm not going to contribute to that energy. Um, and so I'm not quite sure what that. Now, I'm not trying to be like the Grinch and steal everybody's presents from Christmas, and I still love that holiday. But that energy that the Grinch had, where it was like, y'all weren't nice to me. Like if we remember that whole story where the Grinch can't help the fact that he was born hairy and green. Like he can't help that. He couldn't help that, and he was trying his best to be nice, but the kids were mean, the adults were mean. Like he just did not have a good beginning story. And so then when he turned angry and villainous, everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, why is he so horrible?" Y'all created that monster. And so while I'm not aligning myself to monster principles, there is this feeling of, okay, I've seen what I've needed to see, and now I will respond accordingly. Um, my things are a lot clearer. I had a conversation with someone about taking accountability for my participation in where we are collectively. Because whether we want to admit it or not, we all have a hand, we all have a part to play in all experiences, whether we acknowledge it or not, right? It could be participation where you just didn't say anything. You didn't vote, you didn't think about it, you eliminated it from like it wasn't even on your radar. That could have been your participate. I don't know, but we all have to take accountability. I also recognize that here in the good old United States of America, we will feel something for 2 weeks and then we're on to something next. We are on to something next. Hey, my love, how are you? Happy Sunday. um, so I'm doing some deep diving into what is my accountability and how do I check that. One of the things that I have uncovered for myself is I absolutely participate in romanticizing things, um, in relationships, in in some ways, that is my job. As a spiritual life coach, when I look at an individual, I am looking at the best version of that particular individual. When people come to me and they're like, this is not right and that is not right, I hear it, but I'm already thinking about, but what I see is someone who has a level of self awareness that is going to take them further than they ever imagined. What I hear is someone who desires something but may not understand the mechanics of how to get there. And so I absolutely take accountability that that characteristic can get me in trouble when people are saying things to my face and I'm taking them at face value to say, oh, you are really invested and you're really supportive. And you're saying all of the right things. And you may even be doing some of the right things, and right being arbitrary. It looks like you really are the person that you say you are. And y'all know my obsession with cults. And that's a big thing in cults, right? At the very beginning, it looks like I have found my people. These people are saying and doing the thing that is speaking to my heart. And it sometimes will cloud our discernment. We put on those rose-colored glasses and we're like, this is great. I have found my tribe. I have found my people, only to find out that people are people, right? We have a saying in my family, when individuals are doing something, it's like the people are peopling, because we are human and we are prone to do what humans are prone to do. And sometimes those things are heartbreaking. Years ago, um, when I was somewhat, I don't want to say first getting involved with early childhood, because I've been in the early childhood game for quite some time. Um, but early in my managerial role as an early childhood professional, I remember going to a conference and hearing a speaker. Her name is Tamar Richardson. She is an author. She's an early childhood professional. I believe she may still be teaching at Rutgers University. Shout out Jersey. Um, but she's also from South Africa. She's a white woman from South Africa. And I remember her telling this story about growing up under apartheid in South Africa. Her, white family had a black housekeeper who was also the nanny. And, here she is growing up under this apartheid system, and her family, active participants in that apartheid system, benefits of the apartheid system, talking about Black people in unkind ways, saying, Black people are thieves, Black people can't be trusted, they are not our equals, bop, 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 bop. And she remembers how that did not make sense to her. Because if Black people are what you say they are, then why is this woman who leaves her own family before the crack of dawn to come to our house, to clean our house, and to take care of us? And she takes me to school, and she feeds me when I get home, and she rocks me to sleep at night, and she is more loving than my own parents are. That does not make sense to me. And it wasn't until she became an adult where she decided that even the people that love you the most can sometimes let you down or betray you in ways that they don't think that they are. Because it's not always the villain who will break your heart. And sometimes your heart will be broken more by the people who say they love you. And that is almost like the wound that is the hardest to heal. And it feels like the deepest cut. And so, if you ever have an opportunity to listen to her, and she relates that to the early childhood experience, that if we are not careful as educators, if we are not careful as a generation teaching younger generations, we think that we're doing what's right for them. We think that we are doing this out of love. She recalls an experience when her and her mother were in the car. And hey, my love, how are you? She recalls an experience when her and her mother were in the car and a black person was walking by, and her, mother went and put the lock on the car, and how embarrassed she felt because, again, her parents are telling her all of these things about black people, but yet the woman who loved her most, loved her dearly, who her most loving memories were about, was a black woman. So it just didn't make sense. And she, relates that to explain to all of us. And that lesson never left me. And I hope that in offering it does something to you, that it's not always the villain that betrays you. It's not always the villain that's going to let you down. It is sometimes the people who look like you, the people who love you, the people who will smile in your face and say, I want nothing but the best for you. Because at the end of the day, the people will be peopling. Humans are always going to be human. And I don't say that meaning that I think that all humans have to think a particular way or act a particular way or do particular things in order just to make it easier for all of us. But some things just make sense, right? And as I always say, common sense is not always common. And so when things happen where you are in disbelief, like this just doesn't make sense to me, it's not supposed to make sense to you because you don't think that way. You don't have that perspective. And again, part of my accountability in this experience is the times where I have romanticized other people's behavior for my benefit. Sometimes the flags are so red and glaring in our face, but we will process them differently because we need it to be different. Our souls need people to be different because, my goodness, if what they are showing me is the truth, then what am I supposed to put my faith in? How am I supposed to feel hopeful? How am I supposed to look upon the things that I'm doing in my life and thinking that they have meaning if people are going to continue to people? Well, here is the rub. People are going to continue to people until the end of time. You take a group of individuals with different life experiences, with different visions, goals, and you put them together and you think, well, certainly we all want peace and happiness and but we all have very different ideas of how to get there. And there are particularly hard lessons that we as humans will have to learn and go through collectively before we get to a place where we feel like we, I think, can trust one another. If you are doing your work, that doesn't mean that everyone else is. And so the only thing that we can do is take accountability for ourselves, you know, make sure that in order to move past the feeling, we aren't consuming things that mask what we're feeling, mask what we're thinking. So we think we're on the path to health and wellness, and we're really not. So whatever it is you're feeling, you better feel it. Let it have its time in your body. Hey, my love, how are you? Let it live in your body for as long as it needs to live. Don't let it take root if you also recognize I can't be angry for the rest of my life. I can't be, you know, distressed for the rest of my life. And I think part of that feeling that I've been feeling, like I'm the Grinch with the sly grin, is I'd be damned if I let anybody make me feel less than. I'll be damned if I let anyone have control over my emotions in such a way that I am bad to myself. I'll be damned. I'll be damned. And I will also say, if you are experiencing anger, frustration, disappointment, whatever it is, and if that's not enough fuel to push you into your power, then please get that checked. Because I think also what can happen is that our souls can get so tired that we don't even react anymore. And so that's why today it's like, are you ready now? I hope you read it in the attitude that I sent it. Like, okay, we've been talking about power all year. Are you ready now? Because you're going to have to lean on something, stand on something. Something is going to have to fuel and push you. And if now is not a good enough time, then you might need to get that checked. It's like if you were, I don't know, in a horror movie and you heard a chainsaw and some other things going on. If that's not enough motivation for you to run, you just gonna get caught by the boogeyman. I don't know what else um could be of use. Could be of use. And that is why I say feel whatever it is you are feeling. Um when I talked earlier about this country being in an abusive relationship and returning and returning and returning, I'm speaking from personal lived experience of both witnessing domestic violence as a child and then experiencing it in my adult life. And I think the experience as a child was enough for me as an adult to say, you get one time and that's it. And I don't care what it is that I have to do to remove myself from this situation. I'm going to do it. That was my motivation. A big part of that motivation was someone pointing out to me that your children are watching you to see what you are going to do. And if you don't respond accordingly, they may replicate your experience, because isn't that what happened to you? And I was like, it was like light bulb moment. Yeah, we are going to nip it in the bud today, right now, in this moment. And so for those of us who right now are living in a state of fear, is it real? Absolutely. Is it going to disrupt things? Also, yes. Yes, absolutely. Does it take time? It does. It will take whatever time it needs to. And it may also be reconnecting to stuff from your past. So you might have thought, oh, this is all from Tuesday. No, ma'am. This may not just be Tuesday's stuff. This might be other stuff, connecting with that stuff. And now it is presented to you, and you're like, okay, I got to do something with it. Because how many times do I want to go through a particular experience before I get to a state of being where my perspective has changed, where I'm not repeating the old cycles and habits of, okay, let me go buy some stuff to distract me from the stuff that I don't want to deal with, or let me go eat something, or let me just go sleep, or let me, all of the things that we as humans do to distract ourselves from dealing with our stuff. Now is a great opportunity to take a deep dive and say, okay, people have played in my face one more time. And so I am now prepared and ready to take action and to do something about it. I am well. Listen, I think we all have to go through a measure of stuff to really appreciate peace and what you are willing to do to preserve it. And so I will say, for me, when you ask, how am I am wonderful, because I know what I needed to do to take care of myself. I went to bed early on Tuesday. I woke up on Wednesday. I dressed in white. I wrapped my head in white. I wore white. In every space I entered into, the minute it felt like the conversation was going to go to doom and gloom, I said, I'm not entertaining that. I'm not part of that discussion. Or I was just silent, looking at people like, well, what is it? If that's what you want to do and you feel like you need to do, great. This is not the place to do that. This is not the place where that happens. I can tell you in 2016, it was different. I joined in. I was like, oh, I got to find wherever we are moaning and groaning, I got to find those places. And I recognized what that did to me. And I said, I'm not doing this again for anyone. I'm not about to allow any person. And for those of you who might need a scripture, this is the one that I have been holding on to. I would read it, but y'all, my readers, they're all broken. But Romans chapter 8, verse 35 through 39. I'm not about to let anyone live rent free in this beautiful space. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I recognize that as a privilege. And so I don't say that if you are not having that experience, that something is wrong with you or you need to get over it. You don't need to get over anything. You need to feel exactly what you are feeling. And if it is keeping you up, okay, write that down. Be like, this is keeping me up and I need to know why. What is the fear? We cannot be afraid to face the fear because guess what is yours? It's living in your body, so you can't be afraid of it. You might want to invite it to have some coffee and say, well, okay, if you're going to be here, tell me why you're here. What is your purpose? What is your function? Why are you keeping me up? What is the story that's going on in my head right now? What am I afraid of? Again, I recognize that for me, it is a privilege because of what I went through. I think about the worst day of my life last Tuesday, can't even compare. Can't even compare. And so when I put it in that perspective, I'm like, okay, it can't compare, but I don't know what the next 4 years is going to look like. Guess what? I don't know what the next 4 minutes is going to look like, but I'm not about to spend it in fear. You can't. If you want to have space in my head, you have to pay for that privilege. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I also have to take accountability and say, I have these fears that are living inside me, or I have this anger that is living inside me, or I have this, whatever it is, this for me, disappointment. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, I said it. I am Harriet Tubman tired because I know when Harriet Tubman made it from out of slavery the first time and she decided, I'm going back, and she went back and there were folks who were like, I'm too afraid to go. I know she was pissed off. Like, are you kidding me? I risked my life getting out and I risked my life coming back. And I came back for y'all. And you're afraid to go? You're afraid? You're unclear? Are you kidding? I know she probably didn't say, "Are you kidding me?" But I know there had to be this feeling of, do you not realize what your life is every single day? The fear of being sold, the fear of being killed, the fear of being maimed, the fear of your children being pulled away from you. You are literally living in hell. I am coming telling you that I have made it out of hell. I'm not saying it's not dangerous. I'm not saying that all of us are going to make it. I'm not even going to tell you that I even really know where to go, how to get there. But guess what? I'm not going to do? I'm not going to stay here. I can't imagine what she felt. I can't. For those who were like, not only I don't want to go, but I'm going to tell on you. Ah, my goodness. She probably wanted to slap the mess out of them. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so I thought about Harriet Tubman. I just thought about, like, what did it take not only for you to walk to Philadelphia and walk to, like, this isn't just, all right, let me rent a Uber, let me call up an Uber and get me out of slavery. This is literally crawling through the muck, the mud, the swamps, the I want to cry thinking about what it took for people to have dignity and to believe in themselves, what it took. And you mean to tell me an election is supposed to make me feel less than when that's what I come from? Absolutely not. If anything, y'all see I got red on today. If anything, it is empowering me to push forward. And I think that is what that sly Grinch smile is for me. I am more empowered now than I think I've been in quite some time. And I'm grateful that I've been doing the work, because this is what the work is for. When you are in particular places and spaces, when other people are hell bent on being evil and causing destruction wherever they go, like it's the cereal they eat in the morning and the milk they drink at night, like you are just hell bent on being evil. To me, that is a call to action. Let me show you who I am. Since you did not believe me the first time, the second time, let me show you who I am and what I come from. And as Mama Maya Angelou has said, when people show you who they are, you better believe them the first time. So we find ourselves in a place where we've already been. We already played this movie. We already heard this song. And yet, and still, some of us wanted to hear it again because we thought that the black lady was it. We thought she was incompetent. We thought she couldn't handle it. Are you kidding me? And I think I said this the other night, Marissa, that she literally could have not said or done anything for the past 3 months, and she still was the better option. Perfect? Absolutely not. I don't think we've ever had a perfect president. And I know for those of y'all who love the Obamas, I'm here to say I don't think we've ever had a perfect president. Because for me, a perfect president recognizes and realizes that I don't just serve the people who support me, I serve everyone. And so, how do I find that balance between the people who already love and support me and the people who might hate me and are never going to support me? When you're in leadership, you got to figure out a way to speak to both of those. You have to figure that out. And I don't know that we've ever saw that, but this is what I do know. That joker with the fake hair is not it. And yet he is it. And I know that that instills fear in a lot of people. But what I also know is that when the times have been the roughest is when we've seen a rise of good people doing great things. And I know you may be tired. I know you may feel like I can't keep doing this, but trust me, there are places and spaces for you. And it may not be in the places and spaces that you've been in. And I think we all have to think really, really deeply about, where do I take all of this and place it? Where does it go? How do I support the people within the collective who really, really want to work towards harmony and balance for everyone, even the people who don't look like, I mean, I say it all the time. I can't ask for something that I'm unwilling to see someone else receive, even if I don't think they deserve it. It's not up to me to determine if someone deserves a particular thing. If I want peace, if I want freedom, then I can't get in anyone else's way of true peace and true freedom. And so I hear you. Um, oop, I lost something. Where'd it go? I want to go back to your comment, Giselle, because I don't want it to seem as if we're just going to ignore that people are feeling horrified. Um, Absolutely, because the stakes are different for everyone. Do y'all have you ever heard of the parable of the chicken and the pig? It's told in so many different ways and in so many different, but this is the way that it was introduced to me, and so this is the way I'm going to tell it to y'all. So there's a chicken and there's a pig, and they're walking by a church, and the church has a sign that says, "We need help for our breakfast mission." The church has a breakfast mission, and they need help. And the chicken says to the pig, "Oh my gosh, this is perfect. We should go and help them. We could absolutely help them." The chicken says, "I'll bring the eggs and you bring the bacon." And so the pig is looking at the chicken and the pig's like, "Okay, for you, that's just a temporary investment. Like you lay your eggs and give, lay your eggs and give. For me, it's a total sacrifice." Not everyone who even looks like they are in the same boat with you and for you has the same type of investment. Some people, it's a one off. It's like, okay, I can afford to make reckless decisions because the impact isn't going to hit me as deeply as it's going to hit you. And so I use that when I'm determining particular things in my life. It's like, is this a pig investment where I'm totally sacrificing everything? Or is this a chicken investment where it might be a one off or two off? It's something that I can give and it's not really a loss for me. And so for many of us, this past election was a chicken and pig situation. We had a lot of chickens who were like, okay, I can be reckless, not vote. I can be reckless and play around with the vote. I could be reckless because the investment isn't going to really impact me. But for a lot of us, it was a pig level investment. We set with the sacrifices that we will now have to make in our life because of other people's decisions is real. But that happens every 4 years in this country where we have to decide what's my level of investment here? What am I, I may not be able to give up, I may be able to give up some things. Am I able to give up all things? And I really felt like for many of us, this election was a pig level investment. It's like the consequences are so profound and are going to hit so hard for some of us that it won't be like that for everyone. And so it absolutely makes sense that there are sleepless nights. It absolutely makes sense that, I'm hearing people, well, we got to get, our gardens together. We got to do this. And all of that is great. But for right now, feel what you're feeling. One thing that I think we have to make sure that we are doing is making choices and decisions from a place of authenticity. Because you might feel one way today, 3 weeks from now, you might feel completely different. And I said that in one of my conversations to someone. It was like, you know what, 2 weeks from now, it's going to be Thanksgiving, and then it'll be Christmas, and then it'll be New Year's, and people will get busy with things. And those feelings might rise up from time to time, but we are not like other countries. In other countries, when there is a disappointment at this level, they go to the streets. They're like, nope, we're overturning this decision because we don't agree with it. Now, I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm just saying it's a different sensibility. The community will gather together and say, all right, we're going to take care of ourselves. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be better. We're going to be creative. The United States, we like convenience. We do. We want to be worried about what the Black Friday deals are, or distract ourselves with other things. And so I think for each and every single one of us, we have to be clear about, how do I take care of my mental state, my emotional state, my spiritual state, my physical state. I'm not saying it won't be impacted, but we have to be very clear about what's best for us, and is it best for the collective? Because I literally have seen people like, okay, join my thing, and then we're going to do this. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not saying I don't want to join your thing, but what is your thing? What are we doing? Um, I'm not even sure how I'm feeling. And you want me to, so take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Amen. And we can create our own sanctuary. Absolutely. Which is something that I don't think we should have ever stopped doing. Um, we've always done that. No matter what was going on there or in other places, we've always had to do it. It is at the point where it becomes, or has become, a natural response. Um, and that goes back to, are we willing to take accountability that maybe we forgot about that? You know, again, I don't like how we behaved during the pandemic. We was out here snatching up all the toilet paper and the Clorox wipes. We were really like, I got to think about me and me alone. I was not a part of any collectives other than my biological family. It was like, okay, I'm gonna get this, and I'll make sure that we all have it, and they're gonna get that, and we'll make sure. But on a grand scale, how many of us were doing that? I'm sure it was being done, but there should have been no reason why we were all snatching up the toilet paper if we were really, creating sanctuary and havens for amongst ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, let's mobilize and strategize. You'll gather this and you'll gather that, and you're great at doing this. You know, maybe the pandemic was the precursor to this. And maybe we didn't do such a good job during the pandemic in terms of supporting one another. And it really did feel like a every man for themselves kind of deal. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that. Yes. Oh my gosh. It is sad. It's like, let me use everyone's emotional state to further my agenda. Please, 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 please be careful. Please be careful. Again, y'all, my kids make fun of me because I'm always studying cult behavior, and they're like, why are you doing that? Because if I am creating community, I don't ever want anyone to feel as though it's that. And it can become that. I have been a part of particular organizations, and I've had to ask myself, am I in a cult? Because what are we doing? What is the rhetoric that is being created? Like, I'm sitting and I'm listening and watching one particular organization, and the rhetoric that was being created, I'm like, how did anybody align with this? How? It is very easy when you are feeling displaced, when you are feeling afraid, when you are feeling like you don't have connection, which is that thing that all human beings have to live. I don't care if anybody tells you different. We all crave it. And sometimes we connect ourselves to things that sound good, that look good, and ultimately become the very thing that holds us back from recognizing and realizing just how wonderful we are. Like I'm watching one of a video of a couple talking to the members of their organization, and I'm like, what would make anybody stay with people who are talking to them like that? It's like, my wife needs more Gucci. What are y'all doing? I'm like, what? But I'm pretty sure that's not the language they use in the beginning to reel people in. And right now, people are so raw. People are so in need of something that feels cleansing and supportive and loving. And this is actually where the predators love for this type of stuff to be going on. So please protect yourselves. Please protect yourselves, because it could be very, very easy to align yourself with something that sounds good, feels good, particularly when you are wounded. I also love the true crime. And every single time I hear a true crime story, of course, I'm on the outside listening, but it's almost like you can hear, oh, that's how the predator got in. That's how, because that person was in a weakened state and they needed a lifeline. And for whatever reason, that lifeline was not present in family and friends. And that predator saw an open door and said, hey, beautiful, I'll take care of you. How you doing? Every single thing that person needed. It's not wrong to be in need of healing. It is not wrong to be in need of love. It is not wrong to be in need of care. It is not wrong to be in need of attention. What is wrong is when people manipulate that need for their own gain. And that makes me want to weep, because I'm 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 almost certain we are going to see further abuse of Black women because of it, because Black women are tired. Perhaps they feel wounded. Perhaps they feel like I need something. And that's why I said earlier, the choices that I'm making right now might sound like, oh, you're mad and you're upset because you didn't get what you wanted. And now you want to, take your marbles and go home. No, I'm tired and I'm conserving my resources. And so that means boundaries need to be set, because what I can't have happen is for some slick tongue individual to come into my ear and say all the things that I need to hear and make me feel better about the world. And next thing you know, I'm sitting on, somebody's floor eating up all their rhetoric. Please protect yourselves in the ways that, and also, you don't have to do anything right now if you don't want to. I know that everyone feels like this is a call to action. This is a call, as I heard Octavia Ream say the other day, this is a call to sit down and rest. And she may not have said it just like that, but this is a call that, okay, I need to take care of me. I need to rest my mind, my body, my spirit. I'm not going to really make any choices, decisions. I'm not going to jump on that man's Amazon and buy a bunch of stuff to make me feel better. I'm not going to run out here to the outlets and buy a bunch of, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do things now so that I have a temporary um, feeling that may have implications later on. That instant gratification. Now might be the time. Listen, I was eating potato chips before I came on here because I felt like I just want something. And I'm like, Yolanda, though, for those of you who don't know, I was this close to becoming a nutrition coach, um, because one of the things that I was able to do, or I needed to do, when I was grieving from Isaiah's passing, right before that, when things were already not in a great state, me getting my physical health together was my focus. And when I tell y'all I was fit and I was teaching other people how to be fit and how to eat right, and you wouldn't even know that now that I was that girl, but I was that girl, 11 years ago, 12, 11, 12 years ago, I was that girl. And I had to remind myself the other day, I bought some cucumbers, and I'm like, now what am I gonna do with these cucumbers, girl? You could have written a cookbook on what to do with those cucumbers. Stop acting like you don't have this information already stored in your mind. Um, so take care of you. Remind yourself that the worst point in time in your life, you got you through that. And when I say you, I don't just mean you alone, I mean co creating with the God of your understanding. You've done it. This may feel different, but be mindful. This feeling is not just what happened last week. It's not just what happened last week. It is all of the times that you may have been disappointed. It is all of the times that you may have been angry. It is all of the times that you may have been confused, upset, whatever you are feeling. And you might be feeling all of those things all at once. It's all of it. And what it is saying to you is, I've been living here. This thing just, rung the doorbell, and now I'm awake. And I'm going to ask you, through different experiences in your life, you can't sleep, or you're overeating, undereating, or maybe you're drinking wine a little bit more, or maybe you're smoking a little bit more. Those things are going to be speaking to you loud and clear. How you answer is up to you, but you alone. Now, hopefully, there are places and spaces that you can go so that you can say, I don't want to live with this stuff by myself. I'm so glad I started therapy before all of this unfolded. I am so grateful. And perhaps the God of my understanding knew what was coming and was like, girl, you better get in therapy. And here I'm thinking it's because of my physical health, and the universe is like, nah, baby, it's trust me. Get into therapy today, because you are going to need it in a couple of months. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the community that I've started, that I'm taking my time with. Because again, I want it to be a place where people can come and go as they choose and not feel like I have to be here because I don't have anything else, or because I can't think for myself or feel for myself, or because I'm always living in a state of confusion. Now, let me say this, and I should have said this at the beginning, and maybe I did. I don't know. If there are individuals in your life, as I'm sure that there are individuals in mine, who are hell bent on regurgitating fear and gloom and doom, now might be the time for you to say, I don't do that. That's not the food that I eat. That's not nurturing to me. That's not nurturing to my spirit. I can't do that. Marissa's like, she's already seen business owners using what Black women are feeling. It's like I want to fight them. I really want to fight them. It's like we've felt enough. Please. And I believe I also said to Marissa, and I've said to others, for those of you who feel, and this is just my own personal feeling. I should have a button that says Yolanda's own personal feeling. Um, if you feel the need to come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and this is for the white people. White people, listen up. If you feel the need to come up to me and say, "I'm sorry," if you feel the need to say, "Oh, isn't this horrible?" If you feel, please don't, because this is what I'm going to tell you. Whatever conversation you have about that particular person being in office, go have it with your mother, Your father, your grandfather, your uncles, your sons, or whomever. And this is not just for white people, because there were black folks on that bandwagon. Save that for them. Black women have said all we needed to say. We don't need to save no more. We don't know. We don't need any think tanks. We don't need to see where did we go wrong. We don't need to do any of that. We really don't. And this is not to say that black women are perfect. This is to say that from the beginning of time, from the beginning of time, we have been clear, and people are determined to think and feel however they want to think and feel about black women. And I am at the point where I no longer care. I don't There is nothing about me that I feel like I need to change for other people. If I am changing things, it is for me. You hear me? It is for me. It is not because some other person who's not me said, well, you need to fix that because, as a black woman, you shouldn't be. Shut up. Listen, that lady didn't need to say anything. She literally could have just been sitting on the TV screen looking at us like, please. But yes, more intellect pose. And please, we already know. And what I'm also not going to do is have a conversation that kicks a black woman in the back, because someone tried to start that with me as well. Well, she should have, and she should have. No, she didn't need to do anything else. She didn't need to do anything else. And we have to be sure that we don't start that type of thinking in our own head. Well, maybe I need to go back to school and get this degree, and then maybe they'll take me seriously. They're not. They want your labor. They want your labor. They don't want your love. They certainly are not trying to support you in the ways that are loving to you. The amount of abuse, because that's really what many people will say last week was. It was abusive. And I pray that we as Black women don't internalize that into thinking that there is something wrong with us. There's not. There's not. Now, if there are personal things that you feel like, you know what, I'm going to work on that, do it for yourself, not because you think it's going to get you into anyone's good graces, not because you think that's going to make them like you, not because you think, oh, well, if I was more this, then, and I've heard people say that, well, if she had been more this, then let me tell you something. Anytime that person opened their mouth should have been good enough reason. When a group of people that used to work for you get together and say, please don't ever let this person near that job again. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I hold her, I may not agree with everything that she has ever done or ever said, but I hold her in high regard because the amount of vulnerability it must have taken for you to put yourself on a platter for people to pick apart and consistently tell you that you're not good enough, and for you to stay the course and say you're a liar. I know who I am. She gets tens across the board for me, because I probably would have broke down and cried on day two. The minute somebody questioned, well, are you Black and you're not this, and I don't like the, what's your name? Like, I either would have cried or I'd have been ready to cuss everybody out. So she gets tens across the board for even having to deal with this level of madness. But what I won't do is join a chorus into saying that she did anything wrong. I'm not willing to do. And so I think for all of our mental health, we have to now decide what are your boundaries to take care of yourself emotionally, so that you don't start to pick yourself apart I saw a video afterwards and you could see in her eyes, and I was just like, girl, don't you don't you do it. Don't you give them the satisfaction of thinking that you did anything wrong. Don't you dare, like, whoo, huh, don't do it. Because that it's almost as if that's the fuel. It's like, make how can I make a black woman feel insecure today? Like, if that's literally what you wake up thinking, please go get some help, because you have no idea just how good a black woman would be to you when you are supportive and loving. Please, please. Yes, it's for me. If you decide to go and do particular things, please make sure it's for you, and not because you believe if I do this thing, then maybe I'll be more accepting to them. Please. Yes, start making your list of the things you're no longer doing. Like I said, I'm no longer engaging in conversations where you get to pour all of your guilt on me. I'm so sorry. Go talk to Uncle Tom at Thanksgiving and ask him what made him think that that was the right decision. Don't talk to me. Don't waste your energy talking to me about anything. They really don't. They want your labor, and they think that if the way to get your labor is to make it seem like I like you, love you, support you, they'll do it. They'll do it as long as that labor is coming, as long as you are working. And please don't ask black women, well, where do we go from here? I don't know where the hell y'all going. I'm clear. I don't know where y'all going. I don't know. I don't know. I'm like Mama Harriet. I don't know where you going. I know where I'm going, and don't get in my way. Right before, let me tell you, September, October, I was rewatching Scandal because I remember it being such a good show. And then I think right around the fourth or fifth season, I was like, this is some bull crap. What, I see why Daddy Pope was doing the most. Because Olivia was an idiot, an absolute idiot, an absolute, like, Scandal was my show. And I know it was for a lot of us. But go back and watch it. And I said this to my daughter because we were one of my daughters. We were both rewatching it, and after we got to season 4, I was like, wait a minute. Olivia keep running in here saving these people, running in here saving these people, and that man Fritz is just keep playing in her face. Like, stop it, stop it. It's still a good written show, but watch it now and see if you don't feel differently. Oh my goodness. Yes, we are no longer the emotional dumping ground for what might be wrong with y'all. And again, it's not to say that black women are perfect, because I'm sitting here as a black woman. I'm telling you, perfection is not in my address. I don't know the street. I don't know how to get there. It's not even a destination at this point for me. I want to be authentic. And I recognize that for me, maybe not for you, authenticity, it's an ambitious goal. It's not always easy because of all of that stuff that we all have. It's one of those things where you're like, okay, I want to get back to it, but I got all this other stuff that I got to untie, and clear out before I even really know what's authentic for me. And that makes me want to cry to even say that. Sometimes I don't know what's authentic for myself because I'm carrying so much other stuff. Because I'm not going to fake it like I don't want people to like me. I'm not going to fake it like it doesn't matter if people don't support me. I'm not going to fake it and say that I get depressed when it feels like my work is not being taken seriously, or that people are just disrespectful. I'm human. And so I want my work to be meaningful. I want my work to resonate. I do. And so when you want those things and you also want to be authentic, sometimes the lines are blurred. And so I don't care about being likable, but I do care. You know, this stuff up in here cares. This stuff up in here cares about being likable. If I didn't care about being likable, child, I would leave my house butt naked some days because I don't like wearing clothes all the time. Like, if I didn't care about being accepted, I wouldn't do those things that are acceptable in society. And so being authentic also takes time because sometimes you have to tell yourself really, really hard truths. And this is something that my therapist and I were working out in my last session. It's like I've come to the realization about particular things in my life. And I've also come to the realization that how long is this going to be okay? Because I know that once I have that idea in my mind, at some point I got to act on it, right? So if I say, well, my job, I like it, but I recognize it's not as fulfilling as it used to be. Well, at some point you're going to have to make a decision because I know I'm not okay with the things just being okay. I'm not okay living a life where things are not fulfilling. I'm not okay with living a life like I just was going ham in my bathroom because I'm like, this is not the bathroom of my dreams. This is not, I've been okay with it because I was just like, okay, it's okay, but it's not okay. It's not the way that I want it. And I know at some particular point I'm going to have to make a decision because I'm not okay with just being okay. That's not peaceful to me. I'm not okay with settling. And I know many of us share in that we put up with a lot. And sometimes we'll talk ourselves out of things. Well, I don't really need to have things a particular way. I'm okay with the way they are. How long is that going to last? How long is that going to be sustainable before you get to a point where now you upset, frustrated, and disappointed because the thing that you already know was not okay is now bothering you so much and you're mad because you didn't do anything about it. And that's why I said today's title is Are You Ready Now? Because if you are angry and you are frustrated and you just allow those things to sit and to simmer and you don't take action, it's not sustainable. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision. And similar to the story about the chicken and the pig, you might have to make some pig decisions. So if there's a particular thing that, the chicken and the pig, I'll say it again, it was like, okay, we're going to do this breakfast. The chicken's like, great. I'll get the eggs, you get the bacon. The pig said, wait a minute. Do you understand what has to happen for me to do the bacon part? I have to literally die. Whereas you only have to lay some eggs and give them up. At some point, we all have to make a pig or a chicken decision. It's like, how long am I going to be okay with things just being okay? Knowing that it's eating away at my spirit, knowing that it's making me feel poorly. I will say that this election, some people were making pig decisions, some people were making chicken decisions. At some point, that chicken is not going to be able to lay them eggs anymore. And then the people are going to want to have some fried chicken for their breakfast. But is the chicken going to be prepared for that? Probably not. And so, for those of you who felt like, oh, well, I'll vote for that guy and let me cross my fingers, maybe it won't be so bad. Trust me. And I didn't mean this to be a joke or a pun, but at some point, the chickens will come home to roost. And those eggs that you have given are not going to be enough. They're going to want the breasts, they're going to want the legs, they're going to want the thighs, the wings. And black women will be sitting back looking like, we told y'all it was going to be like that, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Um, and so I'm also thinking about that. Like Marissa says she's making a list of things that she's no longer doing. I'm making a list of, all of the times that I have made pig decisions where I have sacrificed parts of myself thinking that this is going to be the turning point, or that this was going to create something that would have been beneficial for not just myself, but for other people. And they were looking at it like, we don't even eat bacon. So nobody told you to sacrifice yourself. Like, people will literally say, I need, you provide. And then they'd be like, I don't want it. I will raise my hand and say I have participated in those things in the past because of my tendency to romanticize situations and experiences, because that's also part of being human. And I do not hold anyone in the position of villains. I am pretty sure that on the other side of this, there are individuals who are very proud of their choice, who had very good reasons for that choice, who are going to go to their deathbed saying, I had no choice. I had to do it. I had to do it. Let them figure that out. I am not spending time, energy, or anything that's going on good in this body on trying to figure out why people do what they do. I want my time, my energy, and all of the good things that are going on in this body to be spent in places and spaces where people are very clear, where they're not crossing their fingers and hoping for good, where they are very clear that their choices, their decisions, their thoughts, their feelings are aligning with the greater good for the collective. That's where I want to be. That's where I believe I have always been. I ask the creator, if I am not, then move me where you need to move me. Um, tighten up those places and spaces where I just can't see because I am human. But I do know this: my labor cannot be in places and spaces where it's not respected or appreciated. And so I don't want to think in generalizations. I don't want to operate in generalizations by saying, oh, I'm not doing this for those people. Um, I can remember I had an experience where an organization contacted me to do some healing after the George Floyd murder. We love to even clean that up. We'll say the George Floyd incident. No, when George Floyd was murdered, and it brought about all of those feelings. I was contacted by an organization, a white-run organization, and they asked me to do a meditation for their staff, um, because they had all of these feelings and they didn't know how to feel. And I said yes, but I'm sure the meditation that I gave was not the meditation that they were expecting, because it was an ancestral meditation. They gave me free reign, free license. They were like, what do you think that we could do in this moment? And for me, it was, y'all need to clean up some stuff that your ancestors left behind. Whatever you're feeling, don't ask Black people to hold that or carry that. If we're going to do some ancestral work, then how about you have to come to the realization that perhaps your ancestors were not as nice as you thought they were. Perhaps Meemaw and Pawpaw were not as nice. I don't know. They could have been. They could have been allies. We can't assume that they were or they weren't. We don't know. But yeah, you need to clean it up because maybe that guilt you are feeling, like I should be doing more or I should have, and that was the commentary for a lot of the staff members. They didn't know what to say to the black people in the office. That's essentially what it was. How are we sensitive? Leave them alone and not put your guilt as their problem to solve or to absolve. You go back in time and do some research and figure out what was the deal with your people. Where were their, sensibilities? Because maybe it's still living in you. We talk about generational curses being passed down. Maybe, you got some slave master energy still in your spirit, and that's why you disturbed. That was the meditation. Needless to say, they didn't call me back for a second time. But I think about that now. And if I had that request now, I would say no. I'm not here to make white people feel better. That is a job for you to do and you to do alone and to do with your people. And that's not to say that all white people are evil or bad, but we all got stuff. And if you're not cleaning up your ancestor stuff, why are you requiring that I clean up mine? We always hear this conversation of, oh, why are y'all still talking about slavery? And, haven't you healed from that? How the hell can I heal from it when y'all haven't healed from y'all stuff? Like, let's call it like it is. So, to my white friends who may watch this, who may be listening, please leave us alone. I know you, in your heart of hearts, you might feel like you are being helpful, you are being supportive. And I may be just speaking for myself. I don't need to hear from you right now. I really don't. I don't want to hear about, well, my dad is a Republican and we haven't spoken in 2 weeks. Well, that's nice. um, that's nice. Or, I do have a friend, she's like, well, my dad, he was supporter and he's gonna be a supporter till the day he dies. Well, that I don't care. I don't care what your people, and someone said it to me, oh, my son, he's very conservative and he's, I don't care. Do not dump that stuff on me. Ask yourself, how did I raise this human being to where his sensibilities are somewhere else? Unless you lying to me and that's the way you are with your family. Make it make sense. And it doesn't mean that just because you raised a child that they're going to think the way you think and they're going to see things the way you see. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's no accident or it's no mistake that you gave birth to a child and now this child is running around waving a Confederate flag. Where'd he see it? Where'd he get it? When did you not step in? What did you not do? What did you just leave up to chance? Or are you playing in my face? I don't know. But guess what? I ain't wasting no time trying to figure it out. I love you, but this is not the time for you to come and tell me how hard it is for you. That would be my message to not just white people, but anybody who feels like they are aligned with the rhetoric that came out of that man's mouth. This is not the time for you to tell me your sob story or why you feel you had no. Do that somewhere else because I'm over here strategizing. I'm over here thinking of how can I make Black women's lives better or more supportive. And I recognize that I haven't always done the best of jobs doing that. I've done what I think was necessary, but now it's time to turn it up a little bit. Some things have shifted in my life where I now have more time to do the things that I love. And so I said, I'm going to give myself this week to just rest. Grandbaby girl was over yesterday. It was amazing. intentionally spending time in her space because I'm also thinking of her. I'm like, I got work to do. That work starts tomorrow. Um, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this entire year talking about our personal power because, baby, if there ever was a time for any one of us to be living from that space of personal power, now is the time. This is what we prepared for. It is a shame that it has had to unfold in the way that it is unfolding. But I have to say, one of my thoughts from last week was, if things had been different, would we have done what I think that many of us did, um, through both of Obama's terms, where we just kind of coasted? I really feel that. That's my personal opinion. I think that once we elected Barack Obama, there was this sigh of relief and we felt like it's handled. Cue Olivia Pope, since we were talking about her. It just felt like, okay, he's got this. When now I see it as, it should have empowered us to be more forceful and intentional in what we were doing. And so now I think, yeah, say it again, Marissa, it's time to tap in. Because I really think if things had went differently, and it would have been historic, it would have been glorious, certainly it would have been a sigh of relief. But I also feel like we may have just been like, okay, sis, you got it. You got it. Because what happened to Obama was, we got him in and then we fell asleep during the midterm elections, and so he had to deal with a Republican Congress who was never going to support him, never going to support him. And so I hope we pay attention that when midterm elections come up, we can't, you really want to do something, educate yourselves on how important those midterm elections are going to be. Yes, it's time to tap in. Hello, hello, hello. I said at the top of this that there's no meditation today. Um, because that also feels like that is something that we individually need to do for ourselves. What you say? No meditation? Mm-mm. Because I do not know what everyone's emotions are. I think it would be irresponsible of me to take us into a meditation to say, oh, you're feeling angry. Oh, I don't know. There are so many emotions tied to not just what happened last week, but I don't know about y'all, but there's been some personal stuff going on for me where I'm like, all this at one time, universe? Really? Um, yeah, all of it at one time. And so, because we've been doing this all year, I trust and believe that we are all in a position to sit with ourselves, ask ourselves, what is it that I need in this moment? Knowing that it can change from moment to moment to moment, and to be really real about it. Like, if it's I'm angry, then what you need in the moment might be clarity about what you're really angry about. If it's disappointment, then get really clear. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And talk to yourself like you would want your best friend to talk to yourself. Like, for me, disappointment always comes up. And so then I have to sit and be like, well, what did you think was going to happen? And most of the time, as I really thought that person, place, or thing was going to see what I needed and would have provided it. Would have provided even a something that resembles what I needed. That's what I thought. And then I have to have another conversation. It's like, well, why would you think that? What evidence did you have that that person, place, or thing was going to provide it? Or were you just hopeful? Okay, well, if you were just hopeful, then that also means that the possibility exists that it wasn't going to unfold the way that you desired. You know, when I really, really dissect what my disappointment is, I get to a place where I'm like, yeah, I see where, not that I went wrong, but I see where I really put all my eggs in one basket and I was hoping. You know, I've had conversations with people where I feel like I have explained things thoroughly and then it goes left. And it's like, I'm disappointed because I thought that I did a good enough job of explaining. And then sometimes I get to the end and I'm like, no, I did. I did. Maybe I overestimated the other person's capacity to understand. And guess what? They're human. Doesn't make them a bad person. Just means maybe something was lost in translation. You know, I really hope that the work that we've been doing will allow you to get to a place where you can continue to dissect and dissect and dissect until you come to something that feels true for you, where you're not the bad person, they're not the bad person, but the truth is what the truth is. And so, if disappointment is something that you felt, ask yourself, what did you expect? And I don't mean that in a sarcastic, like, what do you expect? It's America. You really thought America was going to, I don't mean it like that. What really were your expectations? That if in fact things had turned out differently, then our entire country was going to change overnight, that it would have been a safe place for Black women. Like, have that conversation so that your spirit can rest. Yes, when you can really dissect everything and you're not delusional with yourself and you're like, no, I did everything I could have done. And I'm okay. I may not be okay with the outcome, but I'm okay that I did everything that I felt that I could do. This is not for you to find reasons why it went wrong. This is not find reasons why you didn't do enough. This is not let me find what I need to do better. This is let me get to the truth that I see right now, because your perspective can always change. But what is going to allow me to not have that pit in my stomach, to not have that pain in my chest, to not blame myself, to not blame myself. Ooh, Rachel, it is what it is has been permeating for you. Um, yeah, yeah. When I was having the conversation with someone about an individual returning to a possible, because we don't know all of the details, but a possible abusive situation, it was like I could see both sides. I literally came to a it is what it is, because there was nothing that I was going to do or say that was going to make it different. You know, there was nothing, there were no words, because I don't live their experience. I don't know what they're facing on a day-to-day basis. This is someone who has had to make choices and decisions that I pray I never have to make. So for me to say, well, she should have done this and she could have done that. I'm not in her shoes. I don't I don't know what it took for her to go back to that situation. I don't know what it took for her to run from that situation. And so yeah, there were times where I was just like, it is what it is, and there's and it feels defeating to get to that it is what it is. Maybe that's where we need to be for a little bit, because I'm telling you what I know is if we have a pervasive thought, and maybe it's a day, it's a week, it's 2 weeks, three, four, at some point, if that thought doesn't shift one way or another, then that's when I say you might need some support in seeing it differently. But I know for me, when I get to that, it is what it is. There are times when I will raise up out the bed like, no, 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 no. That doesn't feel authentic. For me, knowing I am who I am, it doesn't feel authentic. And then I have to dissect it some more. It's not immediate, but you will know when something comes back into your spirit where you're like, wait a minute, that's not how I feel. Um, but sometimes we do. Sometimes the pervasive thought is it is what it is because we're tired. We are just simply emotionally, mentally, and soulfully tired. Um, mm, yeah, it. But maybe being apathetic is where you need to be right now. But if you know, truly, truly know who you are, and you are checking yourself, and you have a level of self awareness, you're not going to be there for a long period of time because something is going to be like, this doesn't feel like who I know myself to be. When I left one of my relationships, it wasn't because it really wasn't because I was tired. Because I had been in that relationship for so long, I kept saying, well, we'll do this, we'll change that. It really was somebody else pointing something out to me that was enough for me to be like, what? Because I couldn't see it in myself. The other person said, I've never known you to be the type of person to walk with your head down, but now every time I see you, your head is down and you just look sad. And I was like, what? I thought I was doing a good job at pretending. I thought I was doing a good job at keeping things as they've always been. But somebody else saw the true version that I was living in. And it was that was like, oh no, if somebody else can see it, then that means this thing has gotten so deep for me that I can't even see it myself. And so that's what I said. When you get to a point where you can't come out of that feeling, that might be the point where you get some help. Um, I'm grateful again that I am currently in therapy and we've been working through some stuff where I'm like, yeah, I know that this isn't satisfying and it's not fulfilling. And, it is what it is. And she was like, and how long is that going to be okay? And I was like, not long. I know it. And I even said, I don't know how long, I don't know my capacity for that just being okay. And so the fact that you can identify that you're apathetic, the fact that you can identify it is what it is a high level of self-awareness because sometimes we're in a emotion and we haven't yet articulated it yet. We haven't given a language to it yet. If you have that level of self-awareness, that's why I love journaling because if you are feeling a particular way and you document it, you get to see if you're moving out of that. If you look down and if you're journaling every day, and I don't journal every day, I try to do it once a week. But if I'm looking back and I'm like, girl, you've been in this space, you've been in this headspace for a while. At what point do you want different? At what point do you want to shift? At what point? And no one can really tell you how long that is supposed to be. No one can tell you. So if someone is telling you, "Oh, I can get you out of this in 90 days, I can get you out of this in 30 days." No one can really tell you. I can't as a spiritual life coach, I can't tell you. I can support you and facilitate. I can facilitate that. But I can't look you in your eye in good faith and say, "Oh, um, you feeling apathetic right now, disappointed? Give it 2 weeks. Yeah, you can. 2 weeks from now, you won't even feel that way." What I can say and what I do know as a spiritual life coach is in the next 2 weeks, we are all going to be doing stuff. That may not be the best for us to do, but we trying to feel good because that is part of the human instinct. That's part of what makes us human, to feel good. So we might be eating up all the chocolate. I said we just did grocery shopping. I was like, we didn't put ice cream on the list. Oh my God, what's the matter with us? We might all be engaged in activities for the next couple of weeks. Good God, I don't even know what January is going to look like when we have to, transition into. We don't know. We don't know. But if we are checking in, if we are committed and intentional in making sure that we are well, then hopefully we're keeping track of it. But allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. Don't let anybody try to move you out of a feeling so quickly that you haven't taken the time to learn the root of it. Because if you don't, you're going to just keep, that thing is going to come up in other ways. So if I don't have a hanger on my anger, I'm just out here being angry no matter what. But if I recognize I'm being real petty with people, I'm being really nasty. And one of the things that I said to my prayer partner a long time ago is like, I said to her, I think I might be a narcissist. And she said, baby, narcissists don't have that level of self awareness. If you are asking yourself if you're a narcissist, then you're not, because a narcissist would never ask themselves that. Someone with a deep, profound personality defect are not asking themselves questions of self awareness, right? They just bulldozing through life thinking, ain't nothing wrong with me. But if you are what I believe everyone in this space right now is doing, self analyzing. Stop going on Google trying to figure out what's going on up here. Contact a therapist. Get yourself into a supportive sister circle where you can recognize that it might provide what it is that you need. Don't think that just because it's a bunch of Black women gathered together that it's going to be healing for you. Because sometimes we gather with people with the expectation it's going to be one thing, and then we're like, this ain't what I thought it was. And this is not supporting me in the way that I desire to be supported. Doesn't mean that they're not doing good work. Doesn't mean that they're not loving. It just may not be supporting you in the way that you need. But you're not going to know what you need if you're not asking yourself these questions and carrying with you a pervasive thought is, I want to be well. I don't want to hate people. One of the questions I asked in the reflections, I wrote down, this is my little piece of paper I had at work. And my number one was, are white people no longer safe for me? I have to ask myself that question. Now, anyone else could be like, oh, that's horrible, but it's living in me. It's real. So I'm going to meet it and be like, is that what you're thinking and feeling? Yeah, it's what I'm thinking and feeling. And I know that I don't. But if I don't confront the question that is living within me, then I'm gaslighting myself. And so I have, this, are men no longer safe for me? I believe that to be true. I haven't spoken to a man in a couple of days because they just don't feel safe. I know that is living in my body. And I don't want that to, Lord knows I don't want it to live in my body because I love men, but they don't feel safe right now. So now I got to do some work to figure out, what is that about? It's not just about last week. It's about all of the times that I have not felt safe with men coming to the surface. Like, okay, here it is. That thing is still living within me, and this thing triggered it. Now I want to look at all of it. I want to look at all of it. You daggone right is a valid question. And I dare anyone to tell me that it's not. White people, I don't want to say they scary for me right now because I ain't never scared. But questionable? Hmm, hmm, hmm. there's a hmm. And I have some very loving, sweet white friends, but I can't talk to them right now. because I wouldn't want them to say something that further triggers me and now we're not friends anymore. It's like I really love y'all so much that I need to keep y'all at arm's length for right now until I feel like I'm at a place not where you feel safe, but where I am safe, where I'm safe, where I have allowed whatever I am feeling to live for however long it's going to live. But I also recognize that this too shall pass. I have a one of these binders in my office at the top. This too shall pass. It's like, okay, we're here for right now, but it'll pass. Um, oh Lord, no, they didn't. Well, you know what? That might be profound, and it may be a conversation for another day. But I have some feelings about the dear Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. That I'll save for another day. So that might be profound and on purpose. But yikes. Yikes. Yes, it is. Teasing things out so you can see how all things intersect. I love you, Marissa, because you give us the language that we need, that also gives us the visuals that we need. Because I'm smart enough to know that it's not just one race of people, it's not one gender, it's it's all of it. But for me, I've got to tease out the places that I identify as not being safe. I have to. And it might just be white people, and then it might be white women, and then it might be white men, and then it might be black men, and then it could be all of those things. I have to do what's true for me. And if anyone tells me that it's not, you don't live in this body. You don't know what I've experienced. I don't know what all of you have experienced until we sit down and we start to talk and pull these things out. Being human is, whoo, there's so many different experiences that we have to review amongst our lifespan to say, oh, that's why I'm triggered. That's why I feel that way, because I remember that time that man, that stranger said something to me, and it hit, it stuck, you know? But what I really really hope that we don't engage in is the practice of taking on all of that guilt. I should have done this. I should have knocked on more doors. I should have called more people. I take accountability, but not to the point where it's all your fault. We got enough of that going on. Take accountability, but not so much where other people are telling you this is why that thing didn't work for you. Let me show you how. This is why you're not successful. I just heard somebody say that in an ad. I can tell you why you're not successful. Really, Tom? Because you don't know me. You don't know anything about me. Um, and your definition of successful may not be mine. So please, Tom, enlighten me on how, for the low price of, you know, $1,000, you're going to tell me why I'm not successful. Please. Thank you all for everything that you have been enduring in these past couple of days. Do not discount that we still had to live. Like, we still had to get up, go to work, take care of the kids, take care of whatever. We still had to be human, even if we felt like we were moving like zombies. Listen, like Marissa said, isn't it a freeing thing? It's like, yeah, I did what I needed to do. Everybody in my household, not only that, we did it early. We did it early. And I feel good about that. However, for myself, I do take into account that one of the reasons I feel the way that I feel is my tendency to romanticize. I will say that I thought this time would be different. That I thought people wouldn't be people, but people gonna always be people as long as people exist. Um, And I also think that Mama Harriet would share in that sentiment. I did my part. I did what I was supposed to do. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even something she was supposed to do. She did more than she was supposed to do. And so I rest with her in that. We could have had a different experience. Y'all didn't want that. So have at it. However, as I also said in my post, when stuff gets sticky, please do not look to Black women to get you out of it. Please do not come to try to lay your head on my bosom when things get difficult because of the choices that you made. Every choice has a consequence. You made a choice. You got to live with the decision. I don't want to hear, oh my gosh, this is horrific. What do we do now? Because I'm going to be over here creating joy, not creating distractions, and living the life that I know I deserve. And I want to share that as well. So I hope that we all can get to a place where we are sleeping easy, sleeping free. I think that this is a divine opportunity for you to really, as Marissa said, tap into that power and say, okay, I told you mine feels like this. Oh, that's what you wanted to do? Okay. That could be the Aries in me who loves a challenge. We do like a fight. So you want to fight? Okay. Okay. I fight with love, but that love also can hit real hard when it needs to. And so I'm empowered. I'm empowered. If there is anything additional that I can do, please let me know. Like I said, this is the scripture that I have been reading, that I have been reciting in my head. Um, this is the community that I have created online. At the end of this year, I will no longer be on YouTube. I will just be in this space, continuing to do this. I'm still creating the space, so there are some things that are still being done. But for those of you who have already joined, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your trust. Um, and just know that I'm in a period right now where I have watched my energy, my power go into places and spaces that I'm recalling my energy so that it flows into the places and spaces where I feel good about, where there are no regrets. Not that I'm living with regret right now, but I'm very clear. And I hope that we all get to a level of clarity. It's nothing like the freedom that comes from, like you said, I did my part and I know what I did. I would do it all over again. And that's how I feel in building this community. I've I'm committed to doing this work and having all of the work that I have done live in this space. And I'm grateful for those of you who have asked how you can support and those of you who are supporting. I hope that this week feels a little lighter for us. I hope that we can get to a place and a space where if there are energies that are knocking at your door, that you invite them in, see what they have to say, and tell them to go on about their business once you've learned whatever you needed to learn. However, I will say again, if there is a level of anger, frustration, disappointment living in you that is so strong, and if that's not enough fuel to push you into your power, then call someone that can talk to you in such a way that says, ma'am, get it together. You are much too powerful for this. You are much too the intelligence that lives within, like you said, your pinky toe demands that you see things, do things, and speak over your life in a different way. And if there are particular people in your life who are in the way of your greatness, it's time for them to go. They got to go. People, places, things have to be removed. And you probably already know what they are. It doesn't have to necessarily be a person, doesn't necessarily have to be a place, but it might be an experience, a feeling, a thought, or a behavior that is in the way of you and your personal power, and it's got to go. It's got to go. We may not always have the power to put particular things in place that we would like to have in place, but in your own life, you do. Don't let anybody think that what happened last week is going to determine your future for you. Please. That, please. As my kids like to say, "Mommy, please." Um, I'm good with what I did last week, and I know most of us are. Um, and I'm gonna let whoever lives in another reality live in that reality. I'm not fighting with anybody. If you think that that choice was the right choice, you go ahead and rock out with that. I'm going to live in another place, another space, and another time. I'm going to protect my peace and the peace of those who say that they truly want it. I love us. I will continue to love us. I will continue to love from a place of righteousness instead of a place of desperation. My love does not look desperate. My love does not feel desperate. And I love when it can go into places and spaces where it is accepted and free flowing. And I believe this to be that place. And I'm grateful for it. Again, I hope that the rest of your week is light. On Wednesdays in the Evolved community, we do reflections because we really didn't have a central focus. We might need to do meditation on Wednesday at 6 p.m. That might be the because we didn't really do it last time, Marissa. So maybe Wednesday at 6 o'clock will be the reflection. And if there is any particular thing that you want to reflect upon, let me know. Let me know. I love y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love us eternally. Um, and I wouldn't want to be anything else. If I got to come back through this experience one more again, please let me come back as a Black woman. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Take care of yourselves. And we'll be back next Sunday. I'll have a title by then. Love y'all. Have a good one. Oh, there we